Welcome to episode 33 of the Rise Fitness and Nutrition Podcast. I am your host, Carlo. Today we are going to briefly talk about different type of diets and why I don't necessarily believe in them. And I'm also going to explain you the one simple diet that you really need and is going to work for you in the long term. If you like this podcast, please share it with your family and friends and leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcast. Happy listening! Seems that everybody loves to be told, oh, you gotta go on a diet. But the point is, what is a diet? And what is just a fad, or what is just plain silly? I'm not saying stupid, I'm saying silly. Well, whatever, you choose one of the two. So what is a diet then? A diet has at least two definitions. The first one that says that basically a diet is the kind of food that a person or community habitually eats. And the second definition is a little bit more detailed. It's a special course of food to which a person restricts themselves, either to lose weight or for medical reasons. But it looks like that in the past months, years, you name it, these two definitions kind of became a little bit overlapped. So a diet, like nowadays, as we understand it, or as we imagine it, or as we see it on Instagram and social media, it's a moment where you go and cut entire types of foods because they are inherently bad and you should never ever touch them again because you want to lose weight. Now, the two definitions of diet are very specific. One is basically the types of foods you eat. So say, for example, you go on a vegetarian diet. And the second one, you decide to restrict the amount of food you eat because you need to lose weight. So say, it's a lifestyle and a medical approach, in a way. Or even better, it's a lifestyle and health-driven approach. And these are not necessarily interchangeable. They can overlap a little bit, but one doesn't necessarily mean the other and vice versa. If you are severely obese, you need to restrict your calories and your nutrition for health reasons. If you decide that, for example, going vegetarian, going vegan, it's an ethical choice, then you simply change your diet, but you don't necessarily do it because you want to lose weight. So this is a little bit of a distinction between the two. So it's very easy to overlap them, to misunderstand them, or misuse the term diet, but I just wanted to make this kind of forward to today's podcast. That said, let's look at the approach of fat loss or weight loss. So let's have a little bit more on an in-depth look to the, say, health or medical terms of diet. And I want to break the ice straight away with a very unpopular opinion. If you want to lose fat, if you want to lose weight, the only thing that you surely need to consider in the equation is to go on a calorie deficit. Now, before you get all angry, let me explain what I mean. So you need a calorie deficit to lose fat, to burn fat, to lose fat, and lose weight as a consequence. But being in a calorie deficit doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be very aggressive and absolutely strict and completely remove types of food from your diet. And the reason behind this is that the stricter you are on your diet, the harder it will be to keep your consistency over time. So if I tell you tomorrow you start your diet, you go on a calorie deficit, and you should never ever touch again your favorite type of food, in my case, for example, pizza. You can never ever touch again pizza forever in your life. I might be okay the first 2 weeks, but then probably I'll start reconsider. And that's the same for everybody. If you have something that you particularly enjoy and that is required to be entirely removed forever and ever from your diet, in your diet there is something wrong. And you and I already talked about the fact that, yeah, a calorie is a calorie. But the difference here is that when you go on a calorie deficit, there are calories and calories. So to be able to have a calorie deficit that is sustainable in the long term, you do need to have the right type of calories. That means the right type of macronutrients composition in your daily macro targets. so that you can actually eat and enjoy and be full and be satisfied and be able to maintain this in the long term. And here is the key concept. So if you have a target calories to eat per day, and if you have a specific amount of macronutrients, protein, carbohydrates, and fats that you need to eat every day, it doesn't mean that you have to completely remove something forever from the equation. So, for example, if you like pizza, say my case, and I know that I had to hit a specific amount of carbohydrates, protein, and fats throughout the day, I know that I can have pizza as long as it fits. Or if you like dark chocolate, still my case, I know that I can have a certain amount of dark chocolate that still fits my macronutrients, still being in a calorie deficit. What I want to say is that true, the calorie is a calorie, so if you need to be in calorie deficit, that's just pure mathematics. But what it matters is that actually you are in a calorie deficit with nutrient-dense food, lean protein, veggies, fruits, whole wheat carbohydrates. You know what I mean? Other than saying you can be in calorie deficit and eat ice cream and still lose weight, but you get diabetes. And probably you'll be hungry most of the day because ice cream is liquid, so your body processes it very quickly. So after having ice cream, you'll be hungry again very soon. So that's the little bit of a difference. So it does freak me out a little bit when I hear in conversations that, oh my God, you should not eat carbohydrates because those are bad for you. You should only eat this. You should only eat that. You should never touch this. You should always touch that. When I hear those never, or you should never, it makes me wonder, because there's no good or bad food per se. Nothing is inherently good. Nothing is inherently bad. What matters is the balance. Because your brain might desire something that is quote unquote unhealthy. For example, I don't know, a cheeseburger, or a cup of ice cream, or pancakes, chocolates, pizza, you name it. And that will be good for your mental health. It might not be necessarily okay for your diet if it is not fitting your macros, but that doesn't mean that it's bad for you, it is going to make you fat. What matters in the long term is that you keep a balance in your diet. You have your calories, you have your macronutrients, and you work towards hitting them daily consistently. And as we have discussed in the past, there's nothing bad about going overboard once or twice a week. It's fine. Why? Because this is not a race. So this is a long-term situation. This is a very long marathon. And you have never seen a marathon runner sprinting from the beginning all the way to the end of the marathon. It's an endurance thing. You need to dose your energy throughout it. And since your nutrition and your health is not a race, take it easy. Have a long-term view. That means that you can still have the foods that you like that are quote-unquote unhealthy, as long as you have them in the right quantity, as long as you try to make them fit your macros. And if, God forbid, one night you go out with your friends, you go to a barbecue, you have lots of foods, you have drinks, you go to a restaurant and you have guacamole, you have nachos, you have cheese, you have so many, again, quote-unquote bad stuff, it's fine, because the day after, you simply go back to your regular plan. And is it going to impact your progress? No. What does impact your progress if you are inconsistent the majority of the time? So if the balance between being consistent and going a little bit overboard is overthrown, that means that you are mostly not consistent and very few occasions consistent. That's what changes everything. But if you, over the course of, say, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, a year, you are, say, 75, 80, 90% consistent, that is an incredibly powerful result. Much more than being consistent, say, 100% for 1 month and then forget about everything for 2 months and then go back to it. Remember, it's the long term. So the only diet that you need is the diet that gives you the right amount of protein, a good amount of carbohydrates and fats for your goal, and still allows you to have the things that you like. Sure, in moderation, fair enough, but still allows you to have things that you enjoy. Because the diet is good for your body health and has to be good for your mental health. If those things don't go along together, I'm sorry, but you're preparing yourself for failure in the long term, which is something I don't want you to work on. Work on something that makes you feel good physically and helps you being mentally sane in your approach towards foods. So if tomorrow you have dinner with your friends and drinks, don't panic. Enjoy the dinner, enjoy the drinks. The day after, go back on track as usual, and you'll be fine. Point being said, think about the bigger picture. Think about the long term. One more example. When you started your job, the first week, did you get any salary? No, mostly probably you didn't. You got the salary after the first month. So if the first week you don't receive any money, are you panicking because, oh my God, I'm going to be poor? No, because at the end of the month, you will receive a salary. So it doesn't matter the first week. It matters the long term. You see what I'm trying to say here? Lastly, again, do I believe in strict diets that tell you, okay, for example, keto diet, forget about carbohydrates? No, I don't believe it because it's miserable. I tried, it's miserable. It's socially unfriendly. It's bad for your diet. It's bad for your wallet because you had to eat a ridiculous amount of meat and cheese and fats that are not necessarily everywhere cheap or available right away, especially the good ones. Or do you need to go vegan because it's good for your body? I don't know. But again, vegan is super restrictive. I don't like it. I like fish, I like meat, I like a whole different range of foods. So I don't want to remove them forever. Unless it's your ethical choice. But if it is for health reasons, I don't believe that's necessary. Do you need to go fruitarian? Do you need to go carnivore? No. You need to have, in my opinion, the things that you like, as long as they fit your macronutrients day after day, and that's it. Enjoy those. Be happy. And if you go overboard, last time that I say this, it's fine. Just go back on track the day after. And that was it for today's episode. What do you think? Do you believe in strict diet or are you more towards a flexible approach? Let me know on my Instagram channel at thecarl.fid. If you enjoy this podcast, I would appreciate if you can share it with your family and friends and leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcast. Thank you for listening and I'll talk to you next week. Have a good one.